everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka LTClisa. Today is Truth Tuesday, so Satoshi Sean's joining us. I think most people are back from their Bitcoin conference, Litecoin conference, and some people went to the shitcoin conference. So I think everybody's got their crypto hangover going on. Not sure how the markets are doing. I might ask Sean about that. Let him check in with us, give us a little update on that. And then I wanted to look into some exciting stuff going on. June is going to be a big month for Reggie Middleton and Veritasium. They have the motion to vacate filed with the SEC. And looks like there's quite a bit of information going on being shared over there. If you guys aren't following Riz, I'll share some information from his Twitter feed and get you guys up to scale on that. So it's interesting. It's like, you know, David and Goliath, but David's winning. So be right back with Satoshi Sean right after this. Make sure you like and share the video and jump in the live chat to give us your thoughts. Welcome back, Satoshi Sean.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good, good. Did you get any feedback from anybody going to the conferences this last week or?
No. I was watching Miss Teen Crypto. Looked like she had a good time. She did a lot.
Yeah.
She was at I think she had ran a panel at the Litecoin conference. I don't know. It just made me feel bad I couldn't go.
Oh.
How about you?
Yeah, I was unable to go. We're trying to sell the house and have a lot of stuff going on. So I saw people, I think she was at Bitcoin and Litecoin Summit. I saw people kind of kicking around some of those. And then I saw a bunch of people over at Kenny Bozak's shitcoin conference. So it was kind of fun to see him back in the mix of things. Interesting. A lot of people having fun over there and getting tattoos and doing crazy stuff. So it kind of feels like, you know, that back in the day when people were getting excited about cryptos again.
Yeah. Back in the old days, 5 years ago.
It's not that long ago. It does have a short cycle, I guess, because it is so new. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny to talk about it like that, I guess.
Yeah. It is. I remember, you know, just things of like where we're at adoption wise. And I mean, remember, like we talk about how I remember Katy Perry got Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin on her nails.
Her fingernails, yes.
Yeah. And the market shot up like 25%.
Yeah.
And then we have like the president of the United States tweeting something and the market moves like 1% or 0.5%. It's like, you know, wow, look at where we're at, how far we've come.
Yeah.
We're like Katy Perry got her nails done and she put crypto on it.
Yeah.
That's it. We're going to the moon. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah. It is interesting how the markets affect things. Maybe that is part of it, though, is that it's not supposed to be the government's money. It's supposed to be moved by the people, you know, but it is.
It's just there's not enough people back then to where it was, you know, a small, and it's not even people, it's money. Because we've seen that now with institutional money coming in where it takes I mean, there's been small coins where like I've been a whale, you know, I'll put like $1,000 in, you can move it like 30%, 40%, you know, you sell Divi was like big. And I remember some guy was in the beginning, he sold like a third of what he bought and the price dropped like 20%. And everybody was pissed at the guy. He was like, hey man, I was here from the beginning, you know, just taking some profits. And but that's, you know, now there's so much money, you know, from institutional money, and it's just getting bigger. and bigger and bigger. And there's, there's good and there's bad, from it. It becomes harder to manipulate, but you get to the point where the only people that can manipulate it are the bad guys, because it
The
takes
ones, that
so much money.
manipulate current markets. Yeah. Especially with the ETF stuff coming in. That's the part that
It's a whole nother can of worms, because it's,
Yeah.
fake. But just really keep it real, it's still only, a select group with that much money can manipulate it.
Mhm.
Whereas before, just, some rich people could manipulate it,
Right. And then you have to be careful what projects you want to become a part of. You really need to do your research on the history of that coin. That's one of the things you taught me about going and looking at, like, did they pass those audits?
Yeah, to actually read the audit.
And reading the audit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll say, "Oh, I had an audit," and then you read
it. Put it right there. It's like, hey, look, we had 3 audits. Oh, well, you've got to be great.
Yeah.
And you go, it's like, oh, you failed 3 audits.
Yeah, you didn't get such a great report. It's like, oh, I have a report card. They're all Fs.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was great information. That was one of the great things you taught me. Yeah, there's so many things I feel like I've learned, over the years that it's kind of like when people learned about Robinhood, or hope they learned about Robinhood, the difference of you holding the asset versus you're never getting those coins off there. You're just playing in the market. And then also the Robinhood talking about, they call it, now I can't remember the term. It's like they give you best pricing, but it's such a it's like a waitress calling you honey, but she's got a real boyfriend, you get best pricing, but that's not the real best pricing. That's the pricing they give the people that are captive, and then they figure out what that pricing is, and then they bet on you knowing the pricing that all of you they bet against you once they know what your pricing is.
The girl at the strip club really likes me.
Yes. Yeah. She's really into you, man. Yeah. Oh gosh. It's that. Yeah, it's literally that whole thing. So it's so crazy. Oh, anyway. Lots of good things going on. I did want to share, it does feel like, and I remember when Greg told us about the Chevron Doctrine, or the Chevron decision. Thank you.
Yeah.
Being rolled back.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand the significance of that at the time. And then he kind of unpacked it for us. And there were these little fiefdoms inside the IRS, inside the FTC. And so all these little 3-letter agencies were allowed to create courts inside their little 3-letter agency, where then they would drag Americans, businesses.
It's like Disney, like we were talking about Disney. They've literally made their own little government inside there.
Government, and
we're the government of guns at the ATF. We're the government of, whatever, the EPA. We're the government of this, and we run this world.
And they got to be enforcer, judge, jury, convictor, like all of it. And so that's what has been happening, where they've been, just lording over and Americans, and having all this stifling innovation in America, taking, just not, it's definitely an invasion of our constitutional rights, not allowing us a jury of our peers, all of that kind of stuff, because it's the entity that is attacking you, that is then supposed to be the judge, jury, and executioner, let me say. I dare to say, but
it reminds me of like science fiction. There's in the dystopian future, there's corporations that run everything, and the corporations have like their own police force or military. They have their little fiefdoms, like you said. And once they have that power, the governments become not as important, because like you said, it's like a little fiefdom. It's complete. They have complete control over whatever their little area. And that's how these agencies work. They did it from inside the government, and they took power corrupts. They got power. They codified it. They made it more ambiguous, and they took total control over there. And they didn't try to like branch out.
Right.
They're like, anything to do with this that we've been given the power, we are now the gods of.
Right.
And they ran it for a long damn time.
The other part of that it did not hold our congressmen and women accountable for doing their damn jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They refused to create and set laws because they said, well, that's not our place. If
you take a step back, because whenever things are happening, it makes no sense. You're like, these people are stupid, but they're not. It's that I don't know what a woman is. I'm not a biologist. I trust the experts, trust the science, but those guys are the experts. When it comes to the food and drugs, those people are the experts. We don't need to worry about making laws. And there's already laws in the books. Those let them handle it. Let them stay in their lane. And Congress, like you said, they didn't have to take responsibility. They didn't have to worry about the laws. They gave all that power. They doled it out, but then they held the purse strings, like we've always talked about. So they really are the ones, and they're just like puppet masters who don't have to do their job and still just get richer and richer. Like, what is it? AOC's worth like $27 million. And literally like a few years ago, she was a bartender.
right.
150 grand a year to whatever, but she's 27 million. It's not like she's doing ads for Nike or anything. It's weird. It's silly. Oh, you're so popular. Why don't you do these endorsements? It's not, nobody asks. And I saw this dude, I forget his name, but he has a channel called the Y Files.
Mm.
And he was a huge channel. He's amazing production. He always talks about like a conspiracy thing or something, but he just tells it like a story, like it's real. And then afterwards he talks about it, tries to like debunk it or, speaks to it like that. But he was on Rogan and they were talking about the Grand Canyon.
Oh, okay.
They're talking about how NASA owns like 80% of the Grand Canyon and that it's illegal for you to fly over the Grand Canyon, drones, you can't go in certain parts. But if you do go there, all of a sudden there are these black helicopters or like black planes or white planes that can fly in there and find you and get you. And then he said, and then they're like, yeah, man, it's weird. It's weird. He goes, I think it's weird that people don't ask why. He goes, people don't ask why anymore about like anything. They're just like, oh, it sucks. Or, oh, that, they just accept it. It's like, I don't know why people have stopped asking why. And I thought about kids, man. That's one thing that's annoying as shit about kids. But we have to get back to that. Oh, don't do that. Why? Well, because of this. Well, why? Well, because it's like, that's just the way it is. If we kept more of that, we would exhaust the powers that keep telling us. And it's gotten to the point where they throw something stupid out there. And we're just wanting any kind of answer. And we're like, oh, okay. Oh, this happened because, jet fuel melted all the beams and blah, blah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember when he said it, and I was ultra conservative financial advisor, good, it was like 20 something. And the fact that the president, a politician, an old guy, right when it happened, he goes, oh, yeah. I remember hearing and studying the jet fuel burns at a certain rate. And he just said that out of like some old dude at a party who knew some trivia, and everyone's like, oh, really? Oh, it's like, you didn't even question it. It wasn't, it was weird. And it was so weird. So weird.
It is weird. Yeah. We've got to start asking more questions and we've got to start pushing back and we've got to start holding people accountable. And we've got to start asking our congressmen and women why they aren't standing up for us and why they are tolerating this.
That's it. We got to ask why.
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
And when they say, oh, it's for your safety, It's like, why don't
Yeah.
you care about our safety and 97% of all this other stuff? Why do you all of a sudden care about our safety in the Grand Canyon, but you don't care about our safety in Smith Canyon or Williamson Canyon? Why is it only here? Just why? And if they can't answer, then they're lying.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
Why can't you fly around there? Well, because of blah blah. Well, then how come you can fly around there?
A great. Hold on. I still want to talk about Very because there's breaking news on it, but there is great. Hold on, for what you're just talking about. This is really interesting. This is a Navy SEAL asks an FBI official why they were targeting Trump while ignoring Biden's crimes.
Not the slightest. That's pretty sad, ma'am. That really is. It really shows who your allegiances are to. It really does. As somebody who served this country myself,
Wait, sorry. Let me start.
ma'am, I'm asking you a serious question. Not the slightest. That's pretty sad, ma'am. That really is. And it really shows who your allegiances are to. It really does. And as somebody who served this country myself, I want to make a comment about something that one of my colleagues who just left the room said. He made a reference to the former president of the United States and his family and their known business dealings in China and other places. I found it interesting because one of the biggest differences between the Trump family and their foreign business dealings and the Biden family and their foreign business dealings is that the Trump family actually owns businesses. They actually own hotels and resorts. Okay. Pretty stark difference from what we're learning, what many of us knew, and now we're actually learning as the Oversight and Judiciary Committee actually get to bring in witnesses. The sad thing is for everybody in this room, everybody in this town, everybody in this country knows that if the FBI and our DOJ had the type of damning information, hard evidence, bank records, etc., on the money laundering that this president, his family have been up to the last couple years, and their names were Eric and Don Jr., we wouldn't even be having this hearing. You know why? They'd be in jail. And this is exactly the type of thing I was talking about, Ms. Murphy. And this is exactly why so many of your colleagues have had enough and they've become whistleblowers. Ms. Murphy, what do you think about that? So many of your colleagues have had enough. What do you think about the whistleblowers that just said, I can't do it anymore? I can't cover for the organization, the institution that I work for because I didn't swear an oath to them. I actually swore an oath to the United States and the Constitution. What do you think about that, ma'am? Do you feel like they betrayed the institution, or are you glad that they're up here?
Sure, I appreciate the question. I'm proud and I'm happy that we live in a country where there's whistleblower protection acts and that people can come forward when they think things have been done incorrectly. I support the FBI. I think the FBI does amazing work.
Ma'am, I think they do some amazing work too. But I think we both know that its reputation is massively tarnished. And I think we're both glad that we have whistleblower provisions in this country. But I think if you weren't under oath and we weren't wearing these clothes and in this room right now and we were having a private conversation, I sure hope there's part of you that is embarrassed and disgusted with what the FBI has been up to. And I know the American people are.
If we were hanging out naked,
I mean, look at the movies growing up.
If we were on a date.
You guys are in like every movie.
You'd be embarrassed.
When you were a little girl and you were watching movies growing up, did you notice that? Those cool blue jackets with the bright yellow lettering, the FBI on it. Was that pretty cool watching those movies growing up and those TV shows and now getting to work for this organization?
It's amazing to work for this organization. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is there a part of you though? Is there a part of you though that feels torn, ma'am? Like the whistleblowers that are coming up here now in droves that just say, I can't do it anymore. I didn't swear an oath to the FBI. Is there a part of you that feels torn or not at all? Ma'am, I'm asking you a serious question.
Sir, I'm very proud to work for the FBI. I think I stated that.
I know you are. That's not what I asked you, ma'am. I asked you if you feel torn.
Not at the least.
Not the slightest. Well, that's pretty sad, ma'am. That really is. And it really shows who your allegiances are to. It really does. And as somebody who served this country myself, and I come from a very proud unit, the SEAL teams, I know that my allegiances are not to NSW, Naval Special Warfare. They're not to a SEAL team. And I am glad. I am so proud that we have men and women who see their oath to this country and they said, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to go try and straighten this out so that the organization that I love can maybe, just maybe, be turned around, quit being a partisan tool, and actually protect the American people, which it clearly is not doing right now.
I love that. And that's where, like, we don't have to choose sides. We don't have to, be against one another. We can be for the Constitution and for, doing what's right for the American people, and that's where I'm just so excited about, like, what's going on with this vacating the SEC's lawfare against Veritasium. The SEC court docs show the SEC attorneys told the federal judge themselves that the account was personal to get the assets to freeze the Veritasium case. So in their own filing, same day showed it was a corporate account. So there's fraud on the court in their own filings. So this is the calendar of this is they have until June 27th to respond. But there is a motion to vacate for fraud upon the court. I don't know how they would defend it when in their own words they allegedly brought fraud on the court. We'll see.
I think
Seems pretty clear.
I think I don't like saying this. I really don't, because that I've said 100 times, 1,000 times that everything's being held together by spit, some duct tape, and the Supreme Court, and that's it. The government, the country, the United States, it's all being held together by the Supreme Court. They've pushed things. They'll push things as far as they can. But I've took for granted the court system. And I think that in the past year, we've really been shown how corrupt the judicial system is. Now, Supreme Court, that's law of the land, that's fine. But to get there, I've always said to get there, it takes a while to get there. I've acknowledged the time. Like, hey, you have the mandatory, vaccinations and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they can do whatever illegal stuff they want for a time, because eventually we go to the Supreme Court and then they say, hey, that's unconstitutional. Hey, that's wrong. You can't do that. But now I think we've seen how corrupt and partisan
some of those lower level judges.
Whole system is getting up there.
For kids thing and
it's so.
Oh yeah,
and it's weird. No, okay, I'll admit it. I hold judges to a really high regard, like their duty and love for the law is like above everything else. Because that's what I've always seen. I have an uncle who's a judge, a couple friends who are judges, and that's it. It's like the most important thing. Even if it goes against their own personal beliefs, they're going to go with the law. And it's
That's
Yeah,
really
we-
great that you've had that experience, though.
yeah, but we've seen scientists, they're just whores, police whores, anything you've got to put trust in, they're whores, and they'll take money, inspectors, whatever.
I think you have that in any section of, like, you can't say all. That's like saying,
Yeah, I know.
every
But I didn't, I
Yeah.
never really thought that it would be like judges were that way,
Mm.
but it is, because it shouldn't have to get to the Supreme Court. It wouldn't have to get there if it wasn't messed up further down.
Yeah.
Every smaller court in all 50 states would have stopped it first. It wouldn't have had to go through the process it wouldn't have taken 6 months, a year, it wouldn't have 2 years, in order to get to the Supreme Court, if everything was working the way it was supposed to and those people were held to a high regard. But they're not. And I think we're all seeing that now.
Oh.
And people that
They
don't
took
want to
that
see
judge for hiding
it. Right. People that don't want to see, like, there's so many people that think that a judge is a hero, and that the judges shouldn't have been messed with. And it's all part of the, messed up delusion of, the us versus them. It used to be, it's like, I like the Eagles, you like the Giants. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you could both sit in the same room or at the same bar.
Even if we couldn't, because we hate, but we both love football.
Oh,
It's to the point now where people are like, I don't care about football, I just care about the team. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. How can you say you don't like football? It's a football team. It's like an American political team. And they're like, that's all I care about is the Republicans getting into office. But they, this guy sucks. He's, and then you come up with terms like rhino or, whatever. And
or even worse, they just hate the other side. They don't even care.
It's so bizarre now, to go from, well, America, first. And people used to talk to that common sense. It's like, of course, we're not going to do this. We'd never do that. What? It was like little things that, that people disagreed on. But it's a weird place that we're at now.
Yeah. I know it. Well, let's jump over to your channel. I've got the storms rolling in, so I want to try to get as much time as I can before we're cut off. You guys, thank you for joining us here. Please leave us a like and share the video. Leave us a comment as well. Thanks to everybody. I've tried to add the new little thing where the comments show up on the screen while we're live. Cool. Kind of a cool thing. And please jump over and join us on Satoshi Sean's channel as well. So we'll see you guys over there.
See y'all in a minute.